Welcome to ABC24 This Week. Appreciate you joining us on this holiday weekend. In fact, we're here every Sunday at 9 a.m. and 10:35 p.m. to bring you the real story behind the big stories. On the docket for tonight, State Representative John Gillespie. He's something of an anomaly in the state capitol, a Republican who's actually standing behind Governor Bill Lee's call for a special session on crime and gun safety. He'll join us here in the studio shortly. Plus, Halbert, Harris, McGowan, and Williams. No, it's not a new Memphis law firm, although lawyers are always involved, it seems. In the case of Wanda Halbert, a special prosecutor is investigating the Shelby County clerk. In the case of County Mayor Lee Harris, he got his wheel tax passed finally. And as far as McGowan and Williams, well, MLGW Chief Doug McGowan facing a major test of his leadership thanks to last week's severe storms. And Memphis Shelby County School Superintendent, Interim Superintendent Tony Williams gets another year as interim, but agrees not to go for the full-time job. We will get to all of that in a moment, but first I'm joined by Republican State Representative John Gillespie and political consultant Susan Edler-Thorpe and former columnist for the Commercial Appeal. Thanks you both for being here, and we appreciate you willing to take some questions from us today. You are in, is it safe to describe your district as a purple district, District 97? It goes down to Chickasaw Gardens, Berklayer, you got Shelby Farms in there, a little bit of everything. One of the few Republicans, I would argue, whose district actually borders the district of a Democrat. So you kind of have, you have an impetus to be of a more moderate stance on things. You wrote this column, an op-ed piece for the Daily Memphian, where you said, without public safety, we are paralyzed. And I just want to give you the floor here for a second to explain why it was important for you to write this and why you are so behind the governor's special session to address some of these serious issues when so many of your fellow Republicans are not.
Well, thank you, Richard and Susan, for having me on here. So I think if you look at my record, voting record and past bill presentations, I've always been tough on crime, trying to find solutions, whether it's just a simple enhancement or other outside-the-box policies. And everyone here knows Memphis has had a crime problem for decades. This is not new. What's going on right now is absolutely horrendous. Everyone is aware of it because crime is now happening every part of the city at every time of the day, which is new. So I am using this call for public safety special session by the governor to address Memphis issues that, in my opinion, should have been taken care of long, long ago. And so after lots of conversations with the governor and leadership, I wrote this op-ed.
And you think you have a solution that that you can get the Republican lawmakers behind who represent rural counties who may not really fully appreciate the challenges we have in Davidson County too, for that matter?
I believe so. I've formed some very good relationships on both sides of the aisle over the last 3 years, and privately, I've got a lot of bills that I'm going to be running during the special session, and so far I haven't had anyone that said no. So
it's a good sign.
Yeah.
Susan, I'll let you have the next question.
One of those bills that you're going to address in the special session is the Aggravated Assault Bill, and that essentially eliminates probation for anyone that's convicted of aggravated assault, of using
with a firearm.
With a firearm, yeah.
Yes.
If using
if you
using
shoot
a
someone,
gun, you shoot somebody
and they don't die,
then you don't get probation. You have, it's part of the truth. It's kind of a truth in sentencing law.
Absolutely,
right?
Yes.
So how close do you really think you are to that? Because I find that when I'm not saying you, but when the state legislature allows all these guns on the street, where you have these you don't have to conceal and carry, you can just stick them on the seat of your car. Mm-hmm. And when they do that, without having any kind of punishment that's for people who misuse those guns, it's a bad combination.
Well, I will correct you real quick if I can. First of all, I did vote against the permitless carry, but in that original law or bill that's now law that got rid of the permit system in the state, it also provided a significant enhancement for people that use a firearm illegally. So
what do you mean by enhancement?
So I don't remember the sentencing range, but we boosted, if you're a felon and you have a gun, or anyone that's not what we call a prohibited person, it increased the penalty for that. The same bill that got rid of the permit system, in that language, it also provided an enhancement for illegally having a firearm. With that said, I still voted against it because I think not having training and the police not being able to go question someone that's carrying a gun. I think these are bad things for a city the size of Memphis.
And that's the thing. You're fighting battles on two fronts. As much as you might want to toughen some laws here on crime, you've got a state legislature with a Republican supermajority that has, over the years, disregarded municipal laws about having guns in parks, having guns in workplace parking lots, on and on it goes. And the police chiefs and sheriffs are crying for lawmakers to stop because you're making it easier for people to have access to guns. Let's not worry about gun safety or gun reform later. Can we just stop making guns available anywhere and everywhere anybody wants to take them?
Well, I think you also have to put in the point that when people have access to guns, especially young people and criminals, and they have such access to guns, when they know that they're not, you know, they're going to be on probation if they misuse those guns, they're not going to be on probation, they are versus they're not. I mean, they know that when they get arrested, they're going home. So that's why I want to know, how close are you to getting the aggravated assault bill passed, which forces the courts to, when they're sentenced, to say there will be no probation.
Right, actual prison time.
Yes.
So this past session, I worked that all the way up to the Criminal Justice Full Committee. I'm the vice chairman of that committee, and it just encountered a fiscal note. It was about $17 million a year recurring. I completely disagree with that analysis because I think over time that number would go down, but the state says it would go up, or it would maintain. And I'm going to reintroduce it again. And again, I've had conversations with leadership and multiple colleagues, and no one has told me no. So.
Well, let's talk about the special session, too, in one other respect. One thing I did not see you mention was a red flag law. And I know that not even the governor wants to use that term, but it seems to me that when you look at the success other states are having when they institute these laws, which basically, when there's any kind of official court record of someone who's got a mental issue which deems them not safe for themselves or to others, that having a weapon is a no-brainer, not having a weapon. And there seems to be such resistance to that, and some of your fellow Republicans want no part of this special legislative session whatsoever. How much success realistically do you think you're going to have?
So I came out very early in supporting the governor's legislation that he proposed at the very end of our session when all the madness was going on. And I stand by that. I wholeheartedly believe that there are certain individuals that have certain mental health issues that they should not be allowed to have a gun as easily as they do now.
And the public agrees with you.
On the front end, I want to make that clear. We have to strengthen the background reporting. We have to strengthen the self-harm laws and the reporting laws that psychiatrists and doctors have. Right now, it's not effective. I mean, there's ways to make it safer for everyone without infringing on anyone's rights.
What is the possibility of passing a law in the state that we have so many guns on the street and we want to punish the criminals, but what about the people who own those guns and they leave them in their cars? And in Memphis alone, in the last 2 years, each year, 2,000 guns have been stolen out of cars. What are the chances that the state would pass a law that would require gun owners, if they're going to put their guns in a car, to lock them up in a car?
So that bill has come up multiple times in multiple variations, at first by Chairman Mark White from Germantown, and then last year a new representative, a Democrat in Nashville, Caleb Hemmer. All those times that it's been in committee that I've been on, I voted for it. And what it would do would be to, if you fail to lock up your gun in your car and it gets stolen, it would simply require you to take a training class, similar to what we had when we still had permits. Not asking for a whole lot, probably not going to solve the overall issue, but it's a step in the right direction, and I will continue to advocate for that.
Last question. One reason we keep hearing that lawmakers are not passing laws that are more congruent with what voters want, because they do, as you say, want more gun safety measures to be passed, including here in Tennessee, and including gun owners, is the stranglehold the NRA has on Republicans in particular. Do you think that's true, and do you take any money from the NRA?
So I have not, to my knowledge, had any donations from the NRA. I've not been endorsed by the NRA. I do own guns. I own multiple firearms. I'm not an avid hunter, but I do duck hunt occasionally. So I have never had any conversations with the NRA or the Tennessee Firearms Association really telling me to do anything. They have not, and I don't know if that's because I did not fill out their endorsement. I don't know that, and what my colleagues have or hasn't accepted, I can't really
Well, maybe
answer that.
when the supermajority is so big, there's some Republicans they can leave alone.
I'm going to make a quick prediction. He's never going to get any money from the NRA.
I think you're okay with that. Yes?
I'm okay with
all
that.
right. Well, that's what we have time for. But look, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us very much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you. And
Thank you.
Good luck
Thank
with
you.
that special session. I think you're going to need it.
Yes.
All right. We'll be right back.